also say something about our Honourable Mayor. Sharing the stage with her always is a bit scary because she's really an artist when it comes to making a speech, and to follow up what after she's spoken is really difficult, but I'm going to try my best. I've got my notes, by the way, in front of me, so just to reiterate what the Mayor said as well, it's actually, how many experts came out of this disaster afterwards is actually amazing. There's so much experts around, and there's so much data that's going to be collected, and I think that's the approach we take, also from an environmental perspective. One can speculate now, but the fires were really unprecedented. There was a lot of hypotheses going around, but there's not one single scientist alive today that had the opportunity to study the after effects of such a magnitude of fire. So lots of information is going to come in, and lots of hypotheses are going to be disproved or proved even. So what I'm going to say now is really just might be one angle to it. The brief was to say something of the environmental impacts of the recent fire, and I'm going to be brief. I'm going to be 8 minutes. It was 7 slides, Martin. I'm going to be 8 minutes. I just want to put the fire in context. There were so much articles written about the fires, but this one, in my personal opinion, is written by not a doctor, not a professor, but by working on fire crew leader almost. And he said that there were 5 factors that contributed to this fire, and I'm just going to mention them. In his words, to create the perfect inferno. The first one was the regional drought conditions. It's an extremely dry period that we're living in. The second one was the fuel load. The alien vegetation is immense. We can only start realizing it now if you go through the landscape to see the remnants of all the alien vegetation. The third one, the topography of the area. Because we live on the southern slopes of the Nickel Mountains, we are crammed in between the ocean and the Nickel Mountains. There's slopes all around us. There's valleys. If you drive the landscape now, there's valleys. Nobody knew there were valleys in the landscape. Fire and valleys. That's a very dangerous combination. The fourth one, hot ambient air conditions. Berg winds. Berg winds is unique to this area. Berg winds and fire, once again, a deadly combination. And lastly, the speed of the wind on that particular given time. We're talking of 120 kilometers in excess of 120 kilometer winds at some given times. When the fire crossed the White Bridge, it had a 120 kilometer wind behind it, and that's recorded. That such a high wind causes superheat, what scientists refer to as superheat, that can exceed 2,000 degrees Celsius superheat. There was even, this will be proven now in the aftermath. We'll talk about the thermal heat wave. I mean, it's a scary thought. A thermal heat wave that incinerates everything in its path. Bricks, mortar were incinerated in the heat wave. It's spontaneous combustion happened in front of this heat wave. I mean, it's scary to think. So, just to put the fire in context, it's unprecedented. And then I must also add is that fire is the major ecological driver from an environmental perspective in this area. So we live in a fire area. There's no large herbivores that shapes our natural environment. There's no elephants, no buffalo. Fire shapes our environment. So fire is the #1 ecological driver in our system. It's how we prepare for that fire that makes the difference. Okay, so that was Len du Plessis' version of the fire. Let me just go on to the environmental impacts. And as the Mayor said, we really need to unpack now. We need to gather information. But we had a group of environmentalists came together last week, and we just did a mind map of what could be the possible environmental impacts. And there were 5 major areas that we identified. And I'll go through them briefly, and I'll take any questions as well, please. The first one, it's no particular order. I'll tell you, in my opinion, what's the most important one. But the first one, the bare landscape. I mean, it's a mass lunar landscape out there. The bare landscape was the sterilization of soil. This fire was so hot, the soil structure doesn't exist anymore. It's powder. In some areas where the fire were too intense, the soil has been totally sterilized. This loss of refuges. The small pockets of areas where the animals could have hide all the time, those were incinerated, they're gone. There's no more refuges for animals to hide in or species. That is gone, taken from the landscape. The decolonization capacity of certain species is gone. We'll have to relook at that from a scientific perspective. For species to recolonize over a larger distance now into refuges is a total different concept than what we knew before. Our sense of place, I think everyone will agree, our sense of place is not the same that it was a month ago. You drive to Brenton, Buffalo Bay, it's a different sense of place. It's part of the environmental considerations. And then, last but not least, under the bare landscape is the dangers posed by dead and dying standing trees. They're alone. I mean, the landscape is full with dead trees still burning. It's a danger. There's still trees falling every day. People go back to their houses. Secondly, the second factor to consider, the soil erosion. And this is a big one. The loss of ground cover. Ground cover is gone. There's no ground cover. I must get this word right, the next one. I'll spell it to you as well if you like it. Hydrophobicity. That means phobia. The soil cannot take in any water. There's nothing to take it in. So any water that will hit the soil will actually just run off. And that will cause major erosion. There's some case studies in areas that had fires less intense, had fires on a more level area, and the erosion that followed was enormous. So we can only anticipate what's going to happen here. Slopey areas, a more intense fire. We can only anticipate mudslides and landslides. It's going to follow. There's nothing to keep the soil together. Increased turbidity in sedimentations of rivers and the estuary. The turbidity, the murkiness of the water is going to change. Sedimentation into the rivers and the estuary. It's a fact. It's going to happen. The third factor that we have identified, pollution input. And I should have said that this at the start, people. This is the 8 factors that have been identified. This is not to say that it's going to happen. Just mere the fact that we've already identified these areas. I want to again borrow from the mayor's speech. It's going to be okay. Please, I'm not painting a doom picture. This is the areas that's been identified that we're going to work on. Pollution, defective infrastructure. Not saying that this is the case. It could lead to. There might be some defective infrastructure following the fires that we need to address. We need to manage them. Waste management. You've probably seen all the A's and the F's in front of all the houses. Asbestos, hazardous waste. That is a real challenge, environmental challenge. We need to deal with it. We need to manage it appropriately. The third, or the fourth one, rather, animals. I've spoken to animals already. The response to animal movements, as I explained to you earlier, is totally different. The bushback needs now to travel 6 kilometers from one area to the other, whereas they have to travel a few hundred meters from one area to the other. It's going to be the baboon troops. You've already seen it in Anderson. We're going to see much more of it. Animal movement is totally changed, altered through this fire. There's possible species extinction, and I'm going to pause a bit, you can take it in. There could be 3 species in the Brenton Blue Reserve, spoken to David, that could have gone extinct due to this fire. We'll still take stock of that. I mean, species extinction following this fire is something enormous, and that's only what we know of. And then last but not least, definitely not least, and I think you'll all agree with me, alien regeneration. Call me a prophet in a year's time from now. We are going to, the alien regeneration is anticipated to be massive. Massive. Alien seeds is much more tolerant to heat than what the indigenous seed bank is. The indigenous seed bank has probably been destroyed in some of the highly intense areas, but the alien seeds will survive. The alien seeds are going to come back with a vengeance, exponential to what it was before. And this again poses another fire risk in itself. So that is an area that needs to be addressed. But so I've sketched now the doom part of it. Now for the way forward, which is going to be the positive part of it all, is and I've been a planner for the past 15 years, but there's some terminology that I've learned this past 2 weeks that I had to write down. People talk about a Marshall Plan. I don't know if Marshall is a surname of a person or Marshall in martial arts or whatever, but there's a Marshall Plan. Surname. Okay, so it's Mr. Marshall. It's not martial arts. Okay, I've got it already.
Captain or some people.
A Captain Marshall. Okay, but the Marshall Plan apparently is the mother of all plans. So we need to fit into a Marshall Plan from an environmental perspective. We cannot stand alone. We'll have to fit into a Marshall Plan. And I don't want to go into detail. That plan is already being drafted by authorities and what have you. There's various focus areas coming from this Marshall Plan to address. Environment is only one of those focus areas. We are not an island. Environment is connected to society. It's going to be a multiple agency approach. It's not a sandbox looking after the environment. It's not an institute looking after the environment. It's not like Cape Nature. It's not NGOs. This is a multi-agency approach. The fire has burned down the silos. We need to do this as a collective, otherwise we won't succeed in the challenges ahead. The environmental focus group was already established when we met last week, and the planning is going to be based on sound scientific principles. Believe you me, we are fortunate to have lots of scientific expertise in this region. So all our planning, there's already detailed assessments that's already been commissioned to provide us with a sound base for planning, and then we will start prioritizing our implementation as early as next Monday, following this weekend. We will start implementing our priorities in terms of the environment. So just to conclude, there's challenges ahead, there really is, lots of challenges. We've only focused on 5, there's going to be much more than that, but at least it's something we can start focusing on. And I just want to end off by using the words of the mayor. It's going to be okay, it really is. It's going to be okay. We are ready to face these challenges, and with everybody's help and everybody's collective effort, the environment will thrive to its former glory. It will rise from the ashes. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you.